Hi, welcome to the recording of the Ruminant Nutrition webinar from Monday the 12th of March 2018. This webinar was presented by Desiree Jackson and made possible through the collaboration between Leading Sheep and Southwest NRM. This is clip 6 in a series of short recordings from the webinar and covers testing current nutrition levels, nutrition best prac and nutrition summary for both sheep and cattle.
Testing the diet quality is pretty critical to look at the gaps, to look at what the protein energy levels are in the diet, and also to test phosphorus level at the diet. So it not only provides you with information on where those levels are at, but where they are at in relation to each other. So are they in balance? If protein and energy are out of balance, for example, and protein's more deficient in the diet relative to energy, we know we're going to get a good response to supplementing urea. If they are both deficient in the diet, but energy is relatively much more deficient than what protein is, then supplementing urea on its own is not going to be effective because the bugs in the rumen require more energy to be able to utilize that nitrogen going into the rumen. So all of the urea that goes in, consumed by the animal, it's completely broken down in the rumen, converted by the rumen microbes into microbial protein. The diet quality test can be carried out once animals are on urea-based supplements, so it still looks entirely on the forage component of the diet, so it won't be influenced by the nitrogen coming from the urea. This test is has not been adapted for temperate pastures, only for tropical grass-based pastures. The fecal phosphorus test, the best time to get a good indication is mid-wet. So once you've got a bit of green feed coming up, now would actually be a good time to test, provided there's enough of it for your animals to test for phosphorus status. If it's deficient now, you know it's going to be deficient all year round. And they need to be off supplements for at least 10 to 14 days before you actually collect the dung samples, because phosphorus supplements will interfere with your fecal phosphorus results. Just to summarize a little bit some of what I just touched on, making sure that replacement females are on a positive plane of nutrition, scanning for singles and twins and segregating them, because we can see that there's massive differences in the energy requirements between those two groups. And I didn't even cover protein for those two groups, but that would also be the case. A minimum condition score of 2.7 for ewes at joining, and higher for cattle, so 3 to 3.5. And for heifers, it needs to be 3.5 to 4. And then condition score should be maintained over the pregnancy. With ewes, they can fall back a little bit as long as at the end of their pregnancy that condition score is lifted up again. So they really need to be on a good plane of nutrition in that last month of pregnancy. Weaning early to increase condition score at the next joining. So we actually wean on a condition score of the breeder, as opposed to using weaning weight as our indicator of when to wean. And monitoring diet quality so that we can get a better idea of what type of supplements we actually need to give to our stock, rather than just shooting from the hip. With cattle, you're just making sure that females are on a positive plane of nutrition. Again, minimum condition score of 3 for mature cows going into calving, and 3.5 to 4 for heifers going into their first calving. All of the points that I covered for sheep also relate to cattle. So weaning early to increase condition score at the next joining, and again, monitoring diet quality. Going on to the last slide, doing a condition score at the preg test, so not just preg testing, but actually monitoring condition score of the females to see where they're at. Because if you're getting poor reconception rates, that might explain why that might be occurring. And doing a diet quality analysis to identify when those females might require an energy supplement. Looking after ewe condition score from joining to lambing to improve lamb survival. Doing a forage budget at the end of the growing season to make sure that there's enough energy going through to the next break in the season. And we also need to account for supplements that we're feeding. So when we feed urea supplements, for example, we're effectively increasing our grazing pressure by an extra 30%. So we need to adjust for that. And working out what the requirements are for each group of animals if it doesn't rain. having a contingency plan for weaning and selling stock, so we don't get in a position of either running out of pasture or having to buy in energy supplements too early in the dry season or having to bring in forage. Now is a good time to purchase energy supplements or forward contract them because prices are a bit lower. Most people aren't looking to buy them in at the present time, and purchasing urea-based dry licks as they're needed.
Thank you for watching this short clip from the Ruminant Nutrition webinar. If you have any questions or would like some more information, please visit www.leadingsheep.com.au.